show that we call the Rainforest Review. We do this program for a very important reason, and that is because unfortunately the rainforest is continuing to disappear at a pretty drastic pace across the globe. Not only is it a very important habitat for a number of plants and animals to call home, but it produces the most oxygen that all of us do need to breathe. So that's why it's really important to try and protect that habitat. Now, tropical rainforests specifically, those guys are found right along the equator of the planet. So usually whenever I say rainforest, everyone immediately imagines in their head Costa Rica or Brazil, but they're not just found down in Central or South America. You can also find them in Central Africa, home to, of course, the gorillas and chimpanzees. And you can also find them over in Southeast Asia and even Australia. Now, I did bring some beautiful friends with me here today. I have 4 individuals that you'll be meeting up with. Obviously, I have one right up here in front. Her name is Maxine. Would you be polite and say hello? There we go. Good job, sweetie. So Maxine here is a resident of Indonesia. That is the only country you can see this beautiful parrot right here. They're pretty range restricted, only found on a few scattered islands. And unfortunately, that has hurt them because of the pet trade. Starting in the 60s and to this day, there is a big market when it comes to trying to get birds as pets. And it's really important if any of you guys ever do want to get one, do your research and know where it's coming from. Try your best not to take anything from the wild. Their populations have taken a big hit, and starting in the 60s and going up into the 80s, they had about a 50% population drop. So half of all these beautiful guys out in the wild, they got caught, shoved into small cages, and then brought either here into the United States or over into Europe. It's really important. If you need to get an exotic animal as a pet, get them from a licensed breeder that knows how to properly care for these beautiful guys. Now Maxine here, another really cool thing about her species, being an umbrella cockatoo, is you can identify guys and girls apart, which is pretty unique in the parrot world. With most of the parrots, it's really hard to tell their gender differences, but at least with this one you can, and it's only by eye color. So ladies have red eyes and the males have brown. The only other way that I know that this is a girl would have to do a blood test on this pretty girl. Hi, do you want to go ahead and show off your crest? There we go, good job. So these guys will display their crest feathers too, all the different cockatoos do, as a way to show off their emotions, which is really easy for keepers to have too, to know what kind of a mood we might happen to be in, huh? Do you want to try and do that again? Crest? There we go, good job, girl. So they display those at certain angles, and I can tell immediately if she's happy, sad, excited, or angry. Then I know if I can approach her or give her some space and let her do her own thing. That's right, sweetie. Want to go for a swing? There we go. Excellent point. Good job, sweetie. So they're also very smart animals too. People don't give birds enough credit. Parrots like these in particular too are about as smart as a 5-year-old human, which is pretty darn intelligent. Unfortunately, they are always going to be stuck in their terrible 2 stage. Not everyone realizes that when they get a parrot as a pet. And they're also very long-lived too. She's currently only 17. These guys can live up to 80, sometimes even 90 years. So if you want to get these as a pet, think in your head, do you want a 2-year-old in your house screaming and chewing on everything for 80 years? And you get yourself a parrot. They're very demanding. Can we try to do one more swing? There we go. That was not the first, but still a great job. So I'm going to show you guys how good she is at climbing as well. So to make your way on up there, sweetie. There we go. So Maxine can easily fly to wherever she needs to out in the wild, but also she can very easily climb using her feet alternating and that beautiful beak of hers to get wherever she needs to get to. One thing I do want to mention though, whenever I bring out parrots, I occasionally get people come up and they want to try and pet these guys. That is a big no-no, unfortunately. Parrots tend to be very fickle on who they interact with. They choose the trainers. They don't let us choose them, unfortunately. And then you have to build up a very strong bond and friendship with them. It takes a very long time, unfortunately. So if you happen to stick your fingers near them immediately, you're either going to get bit because they're scared or because they're curious. They explore using that jaw of theirs, and you really don't want to have that happen to you because their jaw is very powerful. I'm going to give her a delicious little almond for doing such a good job. She usually does one full circle and then stares at the audience while she enjoys her nut. Here we go. But she can easily crack that open very, no problem at all. She exerts about 200 pounds of pressure with that jaw too, so if you happen to stick your finger or your wrist, you will have that bone broken. That is not difficult at all for her to shatter that. So that's why whenever I work with her, it's nothing but positivity. I don't do anything negative with her. That way we have a great relationship together. But that's it for Maxine. I obviously brought out a beautiful friend with me as well. This here is Lucy. Oh, we're pretty because we're so gorgeous. Yes, here's a peanut. So Lucy here is a scarlet macaw. You can originally find these guys from southern Mexico, going all the way down into Brazil. And again, because of the pet trade, these guys have been hurt quite a bit, and some countries lost their entire populations of scarlet macaws, which is very sad that they lost them in their lands. But Belize, their government did a fantastic job. They started a breeding program within their country, released them into protected rainforest areas, and their military actually does armed guards patrolling the perimeter of the nest sites, keeping the bad guys away. It's very impressive that a government will do so much to help even one individual species among all the ones that they do have. So it's very neat that they do that. Another really cool thing I like to mention about her too is she is a rescued animal. She was somebody's pet at one point and they didn't do their research. She unfortunately has a lot of medical problems now because they did not feed her the right diet when she was young. All of us, just like humans and with plenty of other animals, if you don't get fed the right stuff when you're young, you have a lot of problems as you grow older. So if you notice her wing sticks out a little bit odd here, and especially on the other side, her follicles for her feathers, when they were growing, twisted in odd angles, so she can't actually fly at all. She can't get the lift that she needs because of that malnutrition. She also has more of a hunched over appearance. She has some slight spinal problems and then really weak toe structure as well. And that's all because of malnutrition. So it's really important to feed your animals the proper diet. And to help relate that to, when I was a kid, my parents taught me to go down to the local pond and we would feed plenty of bread to ducks and geese. I'm sure some of you guys may have done that as well. I now know as a keeper that bread is one of the worst possible substances you can regularly feed to these animals. It just swells up inside their tummy. They think they're full, but they end up losing body mass. And then again, especially when they're babies, especially with ducks and geese, their bones will actually twist into awkward, weird angles and they'll never be able to fly, which is very important for them because they need to get away from predators and also for migration. So if you do want to feed those animals, definitely feed them either duck pellet that you can get right from the feed store, it's made just for them, or get oatmeal. Oatmeal is a great alternative to using bread if you do want to feed those animals out in the park. So that's a message I always like to portray. Now that's it for my parrots. I have another friend I'm going to bring out for you guys now. This animal is another resident of Asia, just like Maxine. His name is Speedy. I got some people who are fans of tortoises. Awesome. I'm very excited about that. So this here is Speedy. He is a Burmese mountain tortoise. This one is still fairly young. When they're full size, they get up to about 100 pounds, which is pretty hefty. And then are the fourth largest species of tortoise on the planet, which is pretty impressive. And of course, here at the Alligator Farm, we are home to the largest species as well, the beautiful galops. I highly recommend checking them out. There's a pen off to my left holding two of them, and the larger one is my favorite. His name is Dirk. He is 107 years old. He is lucky. He is paired up with a wife who is 52, so lady half his age. Lucky him. He's also very heavy too. Our last weigh-in, he was 412 pounds. So they get very large. And also very long-lived animals too. This little guy here could easily live 90 over 100 years if he possibly wanted to. Even our big galops, the oldest one on record that I know, made it 172 years. So very long-lived animals that can very easily outlive us if given the opportunity. Every time I bring out these guys, I get asked immediately, is that a turtle? And no, it's a tortoise. There are two easy ways you guys can know to help identify those two different groups of animals though. First, look at their cute little feet that they have. If there's any webbing in between the toes, then it's gonna be a turtle because they need to swim in what, guys?
Water.
Exactly, they swim in water. Tortoises, on the other hand, they can float, but their ability to swim is non-existent. It's very hard for them. They don't have any webbing, and then they have what are known as elephantine feet. So they have thick and muscular legs, built mostly just for lifting up their heavy bodies, and their toes are more clumped together, kind of like a fist, to help pound into the dirt to give them better support. So that's one easy way to know the difference. The other one is looking at the shell structure, and generally, if the shell is more flattened and smooth, again, it's going to be a turtle that cuts back in any drag as they try to swim through the water. But tortoises, however, they live their life on land, so they're built pretty much like living tanks. They're wide, they're tall, and have a more rough exterior to them as well. So they have extra added protection. Especially this species in particular has two great defenses besides that awesome shell of theirs. If an enemy comes up to them, they're going to pull their head deep inside and pull their arms up in defensive position. They've got extra sharp spines in the front, and it's very thick skin, so if an enemy tries to bite onto that, they're going to have a tough time getting into that arm. Same with the backside too, they have one cute little tail, but they also have two sharp thorns on each side of that tail too. They are as sharp as a needle from the doctor's office. So if an enemy bites them on the backside, they're going to end up stabbing the inside of their mouth. So it's really cool they can defend themselves by just hunkering down and waiting until the enemy leaves. So that's pretty neat. Now these guys are really important to their habitats too. They do what is known as seed dispersal, so they'll eat pretty much anything that gets in their mouth. They'll eat meat and plant products. I primarily just get plenty of veggies. But when they eat seed pods, they have a specialized gut system that actually enriches the seed pod. And after they go for a walk and go to the bathroom, not only will it make excellent fertilizer, but that seed pod can then sprout into a new tree within about a week's time period after it gets pooped out. So when this guy poops, in a week he plants a tree. So it's pretty impressive they can help us replant the rainforest, which is again disappearing pretty fast. As you guys are enjoying our alligator farm here, we are an 8-acre zoological facility. Unfortunately, every 3 seconds you are currently losing 8 acres. So every 3 seconds you lose an entire St. Augustine Alligator Farm habitat. So it's really important to know where your products come from and try to support companies that do their best for conservation. These guys are unfortunately also disappearing out in the wild, but it's not because of the pet trade, it's because of the illegal trade of animal goods. So there are various markets around the world where people think if you consume parts of animals, you'll gain some kind of a benefit. Things like bears, tigers, and again, especially tortoises here. If you grind up their bones and then try to consume that powder, you may be possibly able to cure cancer, get over the flu, become very strong. But unfortunately, those are all just superstitious nonsense. There is no science to back any of that up. So sadly, these guys are being decimated out in the wild just because people want to try and make a quick buck without any kind of real promise of helping you guys. So So that's it for my friend right here, Speedy. I have one final guest to introduce you guys to. This one people tend to be a little bit more frightened of sometimes. They're family, but I assure you guys, as long as you respect these animals, you have nothing to worry about. They're not aggressive. They are defensive strikers, meaning you just don't touch them. They aren't going to touch you. They are not evil animals, contrary to what a lot of people tend to think. So let's come on out, lady.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, I know you said that she's beautiful. That makes me so excited for the day. So lady here is a Colombian red-tailed boa. Beautiful girl. Her nickname that I've given her is 45 pounds of love. And lady here is a top-tier predator. You can find these guys from Colombia, going east all the way into Brazil. There isn't too much they have to worry about when they're full size, besides, of course, jaguars and then some species of eagles that will try and hunt them down and eat them. But they have excellent camouflage to help them blend in with the environment. Don't want to get seen by your predators, and also hide from your prey. These guys aren't really built for speed. They're really big and bulky, so they find somewhere nice and safe to hide. We're usually right along a game trail, and as soon as their prey item runs across, reach out and grab it, pull it right back in. This is a constrictor, so it wraps its body tightly around its prey item and squeezes it to the point of suffocation, and then swallows it whole. Which I love pointing out about these guys too. All snakes are very flexible when it comes to swallowing large objects, and their jaws are a little bit different than us. Their skulls will expand and contract based on their prey size, but their jaw will open and close just like we do, but that lower jaw actually splits in the middle to allow them to take an even larger object. So that little tiny face right there could actually swallow a small dog if it wanted to, that little itty-bitty face, which is pretty darn impressive. The rule that we remember is snakes can usually swallow something slightly larger than the thickest section of their body, and I can't even wrap my hand halfway around her thickest section, so it's pretty impressive that she can do that. Now, boas and pythons are really cool in the snake kingdom. We do call them the ancestral snakes as well. They are the original ones that we've had for millions of years. Of course, we can just do that based on genetics research, but they did have one ancestor just after the dinosaur age that got as long as a school bus called Titanoboa. It used to hunt down massive crocodiles. Luckily, snakes have scaled down in size, so none of us have to worry about being eaten by any of these guys. The other reason why we know they are the ancestral snakes is because if you use an x-ray machine on this beautiful girl right here, you would find she still has hip bones and hind legs. No other snake families still have that trait. They're very small at this point, but they do still have those bones because snakes originally started out as lizards. So it's really impressive that we can trace them back over such a long period of time. They are very successful predators. Now, lady's also currently flicking out her tongue right now. I'm sure you guys have seen that before on television. They flick out their tongue, and they have what are known as chemoreceptors built into there. They don't have any taste buds. So they flick that out, they actually taste the molecules floating around in the air and process that, and that allows them to find their prey that they're chasing after. And their forked tongue actually is very important too. It's like a compass system. So if they pick up the scent on the right tip of that tongue, then they're going to turn to the right to hunt down that prey item. They don't have to see it, just follow the chemical trail it leaves behind. Kind of like our police force uses dogs to go after either drugs or bad guys, but snakes are a lot better when it comes to sniffing out any kind of smells like that. So they're really cool and tough animals. Now again, these guys are misunderstood. People tend to be very fearful of snakes. My parents included. They used to teach me, kill it as soon as you see it. I've had to teach them that is the wrong kind of way to think because they're very important to our health care. A lot of people get confused. What does a snake do for me? They control rodent vectors. So rats breed very quickly and unfortunately are very good at spreading disease too. And there have been times in human history when people have been so scared of snakes, killed them in very large numbers, and then we've had horrible disease outbreaks where many people have died. So it's really important to respect these guys and the awesome role that they do have. And again, if you happen to see one in your yard, just thank it for doing its job and then walk around it and keep on going. If you think the animal is venomous, again, it's not going to chase you down. It's not going to want to waste its venom on you. They usually prefer to use the intimidation factor first, so rattlesnakes, of course, announce their presence by shaking their rattle, letting you know exactly where they are. And then things like cottonmouths or copperheads, those guys will raise their head, flash that mouth, and then of course those long dripping fangs, they're going to try and scare you away from trying to eat them because they think that we're of course predators that are out to get them. So it's really easy to protect yourself just by not touching the animal and leaving it be. Now you guys can do some really easy things to help protect the rainforest animals. Of course, do as much recycling as possible, cut back on your wood and paper use, and then do we have any coffee drinkers out here in the audience today? Oh, awesome. I'm so excited for that. So please look in the back of your packaging whenever you guys are shopping and look for two logos, either Bird Friendly or Rainforest Alliance. Now with normal farming practices, what companies do for growing coffee, they pick out a parcel of rainforest, clear cut everything, and plant only one species of tree. That's really bad for the environment, but the groups that actually have that certification with that little label, they go out into the rainforest, nothing gets destroyed, and they just scatter the seeds around to harvest for later. It makes more habitat for the animals, more food sources, and you do win in the end because it's found that coffee beans grown in natural shady conditions have a significantly better flavor to them than ones currently grown en masse in harsh sunlight conditions. So So you really absolutely will be helping these beautiful animals. And we have talks every hour on the hour. Our next one is at 3 o'clock. It is a feeding demonstration with rats on the menu today. This is going to be in our lagoon right up at the front entrance, right over there, with our 35 American alligators out there. If you would like to come up and pet Lady, you're more than welcome to come on down. Her only rule is please don't touch my face, and I'll be super happy and enjoy your company. And then wash your hands as soon as you're done off to my right. Thanks again for coming, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for supporting conservation.
Thank you.